you, Deborah. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Ronnie. Good morning. What a joyful experience, this sun in the middle of the storm. So grateful for the sun and grateful for all of your presence here today. Today is our White Stone ceremony, and the theme for the day is Free to Be Me. Free to be you. It's an opportunity for us to live into that authentic self that we know is there, but we don't always live with. I'm going to check for a Wi-Fi controller this week. So last week we had our Burning Bowl service. How many were here for our Burning Bowl service? Wasn't that fantastic? Did you enjoy that? Did you feel a little release in that? The Burning Bowl service is an opportunity for us to let go of that which did not serve us in the previous year, to let go and release everything that we've been holding on to. And the focus for us this last week was really letting go of the old consciousness of attachment. Letting go of that old consciousness of attachment. Attachment to being right, attachment to the old issues from the past, attached to the way of it, how it was in the past. Releasing our attachment to fixing other people. So as we release that attachment consciousness, that old way of being, we make room in ourselves for something new. We make room in ourselves for a consciousness of being. A consciousness of being. You see, our old consciousness, the old consciousness of our society, what we've been living through is a consciousness of attachment. Attaching to things out there, attaching to, our toys or our favorite team winning, or, I'm speaking for myself here. Of course, that's none of you. Yeah. Go ahead, go Niners, you can say it. Last time they made it to the Super Bowl, I did the metaphysics of football, and I did the offense, and maybe if they make it again this year, I'll do the defense. I don't know. I'm not promising anything. But so we're letting go of those attachments that we have, not because the stuff is bad, but just because we're putting all of our energy into it so that we can create a new sense within us, a sense of being. And that's really what the White Stone service is all about. In his letter to the Romans, the Apostle Paul said, "Do not be fashioned according to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, and ye may prove what is good and acceptable and perfect will of God." This is all about changing consciousness. I think that's one of the most profound statements that we have in the Bible that I've found that really tells us that it's all about consciousness. We can be in the world and have all of these wonderful things and be a part of that, but that doesn't have to define who we are. And so often we are defining ourselves by those attachments, by what other people think of us, by the things that we do, right? The jobs that we have, the things that we don't do, rather than just the essence of who you are, that beingness. And so today is an opportunity to listen to your heart, to listen to that song within you, that singing, that's here to express all of the good that you have to uniquely express in the world. Unity is about transforming your life so that you can live more joyfully, live more effectively, be more peaceful, have a more joyful, abundant life. And so that you can be inspired to do good things in the world. That's really what we're about. And so as we go through this idea of transforming our consciousness, we realize that though we live in the world and we're a part of it, right, it's not the whole of who we are, that there's something greater within you, just bursting to get out, that's excited to get out, that wants to sing, that wants to be, that joyful you, that what I like to call your authentic you. We have terms like your Christ consciousness, and that Christ consciousness is in every person in the world. And Jesus was a great example of demonstrating that awareness. You may call it that spark of divinity that's within you. You may call it your higher self. I like to call it my authentic self because that's really the truth of who I am. The truth of who I am, not the personas, right? We all put on personas. We put on our Sunday personas with our coats and our ties. I forgot my tie. We put on our work personas. We put on our neighbor personas, and if you watch kids, at school, they put on all kinds of personas depending on who they're around, and different aspects of them come out. And sometimes those personas are there because we're afraid to be who we truly are. We're afraid to be open and free, to allow that divine essence, that light, to shine and to be a part of you. So today is really about connecting with what is waiting to emerge within you. The consciousness that's waiting to be birthed, that's waiting to come forth, that will give you just a greater understanding and expression of that authentic self. Right? I don't want to talk about it in terms of perfection or imperfection, because it's all a scale, and it's all it goes from one to another, and we slip back and forth, back into our old consciousness of attachment, until we recognize and remember, oh, I can let go of that fear. I can let go of that concern. I can let go of that story that's creating, my suffering. And I can just step into beingness. Step into those aspects of my being that are here to be expressed. Maybe it's the aspect of faith, the power of faith within you, the power within you to shape substance, to create your experience in the world. Maybe it's the power of love, the energy of the harmonizing energy that flows throughout the universe, that agape love, that divine love. Maybe it's strength or wisdom or zeal or whatever term that's bubbling up within you. What aspect of you is waiting to be born? Eric Butterworth, a Unity minister and author, once wrote, "We are human in expression, but divine in creation, and limitless in potential." So notice how he doesn't say, forget about the humanness or forget about the ego. He just says we are human in expression. And we are divine as our authentic self. And our potential to express that is infinite. And how we bring that out into the world. He goes on to say, dare to conceive of greater things for yourself. Dare to see yourself as strong, confident, successful, and poised, and possessed of the patience and the stability to keep moving in the direction of your dreams. Dare to be that. Anybody want to dare to be that? That sounds pretty good. That's who we are. Just dare to step into that essence of you and allow it to be. And, every day we will go through the process of releasing our attachments, releasing our old stories, releasing our old consciousness. Every day we will go through that because they are, habitual within us. There are patterns within us, sometimes unconscious. And so every day we will find ourselves, oh, there I am again. I can release it and mentally go through that burning bowl service again. And then I like to, or you can physically do it, I like to use my shredder. Anybody like that? Anytime I do a worksheet, anytime I do anything, write down my issues or whatever in the morning when I'm journaling, it's like, yep, I don't want that anymore. I'm going to shred that. That's my burning bowl exercise. So every day we're going to have the opportunity to remember that, yes, we are human in expression, but we are divine, and our potential is limitless. Your potential is limitless. Your potential to express that divine aspect of you. And everyone will express it a little differently because we're all an individual expression of the allness of life. And that's the beauty of it. Oh my gosh, can you imagine what it'd be like if everyone was John Riley? I don't think I could take it. I argue with myself enough. Then I'd have to actually argue with myself out there. We're all this beautiful expression, authentic. So it's an opportunity for us to allow that aspect to emerge in a greater expression, to do greater work in the world, to be a greater presence for peace, a greater expression of love, a greater empowerment of faith. The White Stone ceremony is one that we've done for many, many years, well before I've been here. And it comes from, it is drawn out of a verse from Revelation chapter 2, verse 17. He who has an ear to hear, let me start over. He who has an ear, let him hear what Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, to him I will give some of the hidden manna, and I will give him a white stone. And a new name will be written on the stone, which no one knows but he who receives it. So let's just take a look at that for a moment. Literally, this story goes back to when, back in those days, when people were released from prison, and the person who wrote this was in prison. When they release them from prison, they give them a white stone to signify that they are now free. So that's where the idea came from. But of course, in Unity, we look at the Bible as metaphysical, as a metaphysical interpretation. That is a spiritual interpretation, a way to look at ourselves in consciousness. And so it begins with he who has an ear to hear. Those of us who have an ear to hear, let them hear. Because Spirit is always there. That divine intelligence, that divine inspiration, that flowing energy, that energy and activity of Spirit is always there, but we don't always hear it. Because we're too, we're chattering in our ear. We've got that voice that just keeps running over and over again. But once you recognize that, it's like, okay, let me just calm that voice down so I can hear what Spirit says to the churches. Now, metaphysically, churches represents consciousness. That place within you that is sacred and holy. That aspect of you that is that center, that authentic, where that authentic self comes out. That's your part of consciousness. So when we become still, when we open our minds to divine inspiration, to that idea, then we hear it. And it changes our consciousness. And it changes who we are fundamentally. Now, if you're having, if there is some specific issues that you've been working on, how many of us have those issues that have been going on forever? And, they keep coming back, and I keep doing my spiritual work. I do another worksheet, and I shred it, and here I am again. It's just the practice of rewriting that pattern that's within us. It's the process of letting go and releasing the story. Now, if you have those kind of things, or if you're wondering, how does this idea of who am my authentic self, how does that show up? I actually have a class coming up. It's called the Art of Quantum Living, I think we're calling it now. And Rusty's going to tell you a little bit about that. But it's an opportunity to embrace those parts of us that we don't like so much, or embrace the shadow part of us that we're afraid of, or that's driving us, so that once we embrace it and bring it into the light, we can release it. And we can allow more of that magnificence to emerge from us. So today, as we go through this process, just think about that idea of what is bursting out of you, what wants to emerge. And you may not recognize it right away. It may come as a feeling, because sometimes we don't recognize, right, when evolution and transformation is happening, we can't always see it because we're in it. But later we get some clues about it. Later we start to hear things. We start to see things. We start to feel things. So if you don't get a word this week or today, just be open to the word that you're going to receive during the week. Now, as you came in, hopefully you received a white stone. And I'm going to ask someone, I think the white stones are in the back. Thank you, Karen. If you don't have a white stone, thank you, Christine. If you don't have a white stone, raise your hand. And Karen's going to go back and get them and bring them bring them up so that you can have one, and we'll give them time. But I want to tell you a little bit about this white stone. This is a white stone from Israel, and this is one that I've had, I think, for a couple of years now. I can tell because it's pretty smooth. It's has a blue tint to it because I put it in my pocket and I wear jeans most of the time, so it's starting to turn a little blue. This white stone is a symbol, just a representation of that which you want to bring into manifestation this year, that which you want to create, that authentic self that you want to bring forward this year. And what I do with it, now some people, what we'll do is we'll go through a meditation, and then when the word comes to you or the phrase, you can write it down on the word, so it'll remind you of it. And some people have a little altar or a place where they put it, where they see it, and it reminds them. For me, it's a touchstone. And like I said, I carry it in my pocket. And I carry it in my pocket because anytime I want to remind myself of who I've come here to be, I can just get in there and grab it. That's all it is. It's a touchstone for me to remember this is more of my authentic self. Now, the idea of authenticity, some of us, grew up in a situation where we couldn't be our authentic self. And that's where our personas came in, right? Or that's where those masks came on. We had to pretend to be something and someone different. And here in Unity, of course, we're welcoming and inclusive of all people. So however you want to express that authenticity, you're welcome here. And you're welcome to do it, however it comes forward. Another phrase that we like to use is wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Because we're all seeking to express more of that authentic divine self. We may have different paths. We may have different processes. But as long as we here, at least we're open to all of that authenticity with love and compassion. In a moment, we're going to go into a meditation where I'm going to invite you to just open up, to relax, to let the monkey mind relax, let the chatter calm. And sometimes, you know, the thing about meditation is you can't try to relax. I'm going to relax, right? It just has to you just get to let it be. So if words come up, if sensations come up, if sounds or feelings come up, we just notice them. The most effective way to allow them to pass by and to return to that idea of silence is just noticing them without any attachment to them, without any blame or shame. Oh, I'm not a meditator. I can't do it. 5 minutes is enough. Just let it be. Just let it be until it's 6. That's the best way to get into it. And then give your brain something to do, like focus on your breath. Take mindful breaths, or give your brain something to do, like repeat an affirmation. I am at peace. I am still. I'm spiritually whole. I'm strong. And as your mind has that to do, that eventually fades too until you're in the stillness and you're just in the presence of Spirit. You're consciously aware of it. And then from there, we're open to receive. And so our intention going into the meditation is to listen for that word. And if you'd like to write it on your stone, I don't. But if you'd like to write it on your stone, write it on your stone. And at the end of the service, we'll have a poster board out on the welcome table with a bunch of colored pens. And if you'd like, we invite you to write your word, just your word, on the poster board in whatever color you like. So we can have a collection of this idea of this spiritual community and who we've come here to be. Are you in? All right, let's get into it then.